Dear students of class 10, today I like to discuss the last phase of the civil disobedience movement. Here last class I was discussing, it was suspended in the year 1934. Now that different social groups participated in the movement with different hopes and aspirations. We see that the rich landlords, peasants or poor peasants, industrialists and working class. Why did they support the movement? What was the meaning of Swaraj to them? We see that in the beginning, the rich peasants of community of the Gujarat, Patidars of Gujarat, and also we can see Jats of Uttar Pradesh, Patidars of Gujarat as a community, rich peasant community, and Jats of Uttar Pradesh. They participated in the movement in large number, but they were hardly badly affected by the depression, trade depression, and falling of prices. And naturally, they could not. You see that as a result of it, they could not pay the revenue properly, and that they thought the revenue would be reduced, the government would accept the demand of the rich peasants. And however, in this hope, they supported the movement, they joined the civil disobedience movement and also persuaded others to support it. However, we see that the government did not accept the demand, and the most important thing is that they thought that Swaraj to them, according to the peasant community, Swaraj means it was a struggle against the high revenue. So they were completely, frustrated when it was suddenly withdrawn in 1931 without the high rate of revenue being revised. That is one of the community group. Next we see that the poor peasant community. Poor peasant community also, we see that they actually had interest, they rented the land from the landlords. Besides the revenue problem, they rented lands and they thought that they were also hardly hit or severely suffered from the depression and also falling of prices. And now they decided that they hoped and they participated in the movement in the hope that the rent which they have rented the land from the landlords, that the rent to the landlords to be remitted. The rent which they had to pay to the landlords it would be remitted if they participate in the civil disobedience movement. And in this hope they participated. However, we know that their demands were not fulfilled, and the government, we see, they are fearful that as they were actually got the support of the socialist class, a communist party, and the militant nationalists, they thought that the government did not support them. And when they organized the no rent campaigns in different parts of India, the peasant community, it was not supported by the Indian National Congress. Why? The Indian National Congress did not support them in the hope that it might alienate the rich landlords from them. That's why they did not support the demand of the peasant community. Next, with the business classes. What was the interest of the business class or industrialist or merchants? And you know that when the First World War going on, the British goods were stopped from coming to India due to the German navy attack. So the Indian industrialists would carry on the production, they set up factories, and you see that a huge number of textiles, cotton mills were set up and it began to produce clothes. which it helped them to, you see that they gather huge amount of profit. So this improved the condition of the peasant, industrialists. And they hope that the imports from Britain would be stopped. And that's why they participated in the movement, and in the hope that in the year Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress was set up in 1920 in order to save the interest of the business class, and Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries in 1927. Similarly, that these two organizations were set up in order to protect the interest of the Indian industrialists. And they hope that they participate in the movement in the hope that you see that the British imports of British goods would be stopped, and you see that on the contrary, the Indian industrialists would be encouraged to sell their products. However, you see that the Purushottam Das, Thakur Das, and you see that the G.D. Birla, they are the prominent industrialists who joined the movement and encouraged the others to support the civil disobedience movement. They also gave financial assistance, economic assistance, and also participated in large number. However, you see that suddenly, the Second Roundtable Conference was held in 1931, and they realized that their hope would not be realized. The government would not, Congress actually did not show any interest, or was a failure to represent their interest, voice their interest. That is the import of foreign goods. You know that initially it was very encouraging, but later they realized it, and when the movement resumed again, they did not participate in large number. Now, what about the industrial working class? Industrial working class did not participate in the movement in large number, except in Nagpur and other regions. Only Nagpur, in the book it is given. And we see that why did not participate? Because the industrialists were very close to the Congress. And naturally they are not very interested. Industrialists, that is the merchant class. And however, we see that in spite of this, a strike was held in you see that the 20 industrial working class strike was held in railways in 1930. Dock workers strike was held in 1930. And in 1930, Chotnagpur tin mine workers, they also organized strike where they supported the Gandhian technique, wearing Gandhi cap. They took out processions or rallies, boycotting foreign goods, etc. However, the government, the Congress was reluctant to support the demands of the workers, because we see that it might alienate the industrial class. You see that naturally they did not support the demands of they did not support the working class. And another thing I can mention about the industrial working, you see that the business class, it is at that time socialism was coming up. The socialist influence was growing up in India, and militant nationalism also began very popular, or it was growing in India, militant nationalism and also the socialism. Naturally, they thought that in this way they were not they decided not to support the Indian National Congress. Whatever it may be, this is what were the participation in the women. You see that this is the most important aspect. A large number of women participated in the civil disobedience movement. When Gandhiji organized the Salt March in 1930, or you see that the 12th March, a large number of women supported. They came out of their home, participated in the movement, and we see that when the movement began, civil disobedience movement began, thousands of women joined it. They organized picketing, and you see that in front of the foreign shops, liquor shops, they also participated in the large number in the procession. And most of the women, you see that in the rural areas, they came from the rich peasant family, and from in the city area or town area, they came from the higher classes. However, they realized that it was the solemn duty of the women to participate in the, you see that in the national movement. That is the sacred duty. And whatever it may be, although they participated in a large number, they supported the movement. It is the Congress, Indian National Congress did not deem to support it properly. Particularly, we can see that Gandhiji was Gandhiji once declared that it was the duty of the women to look after the home and hearth, to be a good mother and to be a good wife. Naturally, you can understand what was the outlook of Gandhiji and Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress was also not very interested to give the importance in women organization or women in their own political party. So, this is the thing. Now, what were the limitations of the civil disobedience movement? Now, we see that there are so many limitations. Not all social groups participate in the movement. Namely, I can mention the Dalits or depressed class. They did not participate in the movement. And you see that this class was not supported by the upper caste Hindus. So, Indian National Congress also did not support it. In fear of Indian National Congress did not support the Dalits, in fear that they would lose the support of the Hindu Sanatanis or Hindu high class people. Whatever it may be, Gandhiji realized that the Harijan he organized Harijan movement during the non-cooperation movement, and without the participation of the Harijan movement, India could not achieve freedom. So, he encouraged the Harijans to organize the temple entry movement. They allowed to enter into the public tank, wells, roads, etc. This type of program he organized. He also himself cleaned the toilet in order to encourage the people to support them. However, according to the Dalit leaders, this type of social movement would not solve the problem. What was the demand? The political empowerment. There was a political right they demanded. That political empowerment would resolve, according to them, the problems of the social disabilities. Social disabilities would solve by political empowerment. So they demanded, you see that what they demanded from them that the reserved seats in the educational institutions. They demanded that Dalits or Harijans should be given some seats in the central legislative and provincial councils, and this is how ultimately this B.R. Ambedkar, one of the leading leader of the prominent leader, he organized the Depressed Class Association in 1930, and when he went to second round table conference, he came in conflict with Gandhiji regarding the right of separate electorate. He demanded separate electorate for the Harijans in the legislative councils and provincial councils. So Gandhiji did not agree, and however, we see that I discussed it earlier about the Pune Pact. When B.R. Ambedkar when Ramsay MacDonald declared the communal award, B.R. Ambedkar was going to accept it. Gandhiji resorted to fast until death. Now, in order to save the Gandhiji's life and to solve the problem, B.R. Ambedkar came forward and signed the Pune Pact, and Indian National Congress or Gandhiji ultimately accepted some seats, 148 seats in the legislative councils. Now, what was another limitation? It is the Muslim participation was very few in number, lukewarm meaning few in the movement. And what were the causes of why did not did support it or participate is so many meager, so few, because we know all that non-cooperation Khilafat movement suddenly suspended by Gandhiji in the year 1922. It frustrated the Muslims of India, and after this, we see that the Hindu-Muslim relation became worse, and moreover, from the mid-1920, the Congress came to be closely associated with a Hindu organization, political called Hindu Mahasabha. That's why the Muslims did not support it, or did not actually, they thought that the Congress was an organization of the Hindus. Actually, moreover, we see that meanwhile, after the end of the non-cooperation movement, often there occurred the Hindu-Muslim clashes, communal riots. That is another cause. And now, we see that the efforts were made to renegotiate Hindu-Muslim alliance. And efforts was made by all parties. And once Jinnah declared that he would give up the demand for separate electorate, if the Muslims were given seats in Central Assembly, if the reserved seats were given to the Muslims in Central Assembly and representation in proportion to population in the Muslim-dominated provinces like Bengal and Punjab, etc. If it is accepted, the reserved seats in the Central Assembly and representation in the proportion to population in Hindu-Muslim-dominated areas like Bengal and Punjab, then he would give up the separate electoral demand and would participate in the Congress. However, jointly, but you know that in 1928 an all parties conference was held, and it was hoped that they would solve the problem and see that an alliance would be formed between the Hindus and the Muslims. But it is you see that when the all party conference was held in 1928, it is M.R. Jayakar, of Hindu Mahasabha, is strongly opposed, and thus the Hindu-Muslim unity was not achieved, and it was the failure. Thus we see that these are the limitations, these are the weakness of the civil disobedience movement. That is why it was a failure. So now, thank you, and next day I shall discuss the sense of collective belonging. The sense of collective belonging. Thank you all.